You guys are having a success. You're starting to put the records out. So what worked for you with Arista and what didn't work for you with Arista?
Well, like we submitted 1-2 Pass It and they didn't like it because it didn't have a hook. We were actually the first hip hop on Arista proper. Arista was putting out hip hop through Bad Boy, obviously, but there was no hip hop. In fact, I might even say Arista hip hop. No, but so it was new for them as well. And Arista was a machine. They were selling millions and millions of records, and our stuff came out, made a lot of noise, but it didn't sell like that. So we had that one record. They had an option to pick up any of the MCs on the record. They were actually interested in jazz. We went up to Clive's office, and Jay-Z was sitting next to me, and Jazz performed for Clive. It just didn't work out, though he definitely loved him and thought he was an incredible MC. And it was just being the first hip hop, not selling a million. It just we had that one record. It was a great relationship. I still talk to Hosh to this day, and the art department. I mean, everything was great. But we ended up only doing the one album with him.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
And then later, several years later, you guys ended up selling the studio and different things. So what led to that? What was happening as to why you guys decided to sell?
Well, things just changed with Pro Tools, and we're getting less and less business. Everyone started doing it at home. Instead of taking their budget and going in the studio, people would take their budget and buy a home studio. That's really to a great degree. Then 9/11 happened, and we had a lot of foreign business because if you wanted that New York sound, people from Germany, from Japan, et cetera, would come to D&D and go into Studio A. And once that happened, we were like booked for till the end of the year, and every single person canceled. And we had been doing it for quite a while at that time. We wanted to concentrate on the label a little more, and just the finances of recording studios. I mean, at some point there were hundreds and hundreds of studios in Manhattan. Now it's down to a dozen, 15, like commercial, really good recording studios. So, Primo took it over, and it lived on through that. And we started concentrating on the label. We signed Craig G, QNC, we had Afu, we had Crumb Snatcher. We started putting out records.
And what did you, shifting into that part of your business, what did you get from that was different from running the studio?
Well, it was different. Obviously, it wasn't the day-to-day interaction with the people, and it was definitely a different vibe. It was a different way to market. It was a whole new world of getting records out and keeping to very specific deadlines, and then that started changing because our big clients were mom and pop records, urban record stores, 12 inches, and that started going away. So that unfortunately changed as well. If we would put out a 12-inch, and just because it said D&D on it, we'd be able to sell 10, 20, 30,000. Just people knew if it was coming out of D&D, it was quality, it was hip hop. If I'm a hip hop DJ, I'm in a record pool, they would get those records. And that business completely went away. The remix business completely went away. They were at some point offering 10, 15, $30,000 for a remix. Then they started putting them online. Hey, you want to do, we'll pick a remix. We'll give you $100. And they would get 45 submissions. Some of them were great. And it just changed. Everything just changed.
So once that started happening, how did you plan for the future and evolve yourself?
I had a mind towards marketing and management. right now I have a kids company. It's a very music driven kids company called Goldfish from Pluto. And I was a vegan for about 15 years, and I had a very philosophy of the world and being a good citizen and anti-bullying. And I have some brilliant partners that we put it together. And again, it's very musical. It's probably the most creative I've been because I write the lyrics, I write the dialogue, I came up with the characters. Um, so I just looked at the market and I said, how am I going to make a living for my family? I've never had a boss since my first job. I delivered pizza for about 5 or 6 months, and after that, I became my own boss with D&D, and so I continue that. I run a bunch of companies. I have great partners, and I deal with Mark. I have a young artist that we're dealing with, and various stuff within that lane. Because a jack of all trades, you're a master of none. So within that kind of music entertainment lane, I've carved out a living. And I got to tell you, there's so much resurgence, I guess is the word, about D&D, and it's really amazing. In a way, it's more popular now than it was then. Time has made it a classic. I mean, Doug and I say all the time, like, wow, we almost can't believe the hype and the energy around D&D to this day. And we're making the documentary, as I think
Yeah. And what's
D&D / Primo,
what's
because you can't tell the D&D story without it being completely not completely, but certainly very Primo heavy.
and what's Doug doing now?
Doug has a couple businesses. He's actually he's in a band. He's producing a new young artist, which is new for him. For many, many years, he just kind of put it aside. But Doug's very successful. He's a businessman. He's got a couple things going, and he and I speak all the time. Oh, there's my bulldogs waking up in the background.
Yeah. It's alive.
Yeah, she's a good girl. So he's doing all kinds of stuff. He's got a thriving business in New York, and he's doing his thing. He's brilliant.
So what's the latest with the documentary? Is it almost done? Is it about to come out? Do you have a deal? What's the latest?
We had a deal, and we were very lucky before they closed out. When it was headquarters and the building was sold and they weren't renewing leases, we were up there like the last week. So, and we had people come through. We had Nas and Jay and, a ton of people, a lot of the Duck Down guys. And, we got some incredible interviews actually in the space saying goodbye to it. Then we were with a company that went bankrupt in Canada. And so that slowed it down quite a bit. And the amazing Russell Peters really came. He's the one who set it up. He's the executive producer with Darby and Rodrigo, who were incredible hip hop, beyond knowledgeable writers, directors. They did Hip Hop Evolution and won all kinds of awards. And so once we got it out of bankruptcy, we started to kind of revive it, and then COVID happened. So it's been, but we have a lot of incredible footage. I just spoke to Darby. There's a lot of things going on with it. We're going to land it very soon, and I'll have an update. But a good portion of it's done. Again, the first guy we interviewed for it was Nas. So I said, this is going to work. We got Nas first, and he just came up. He was so forthcoming. Then we interviewed Jay at SIR right before I think he was doing B-sides that night at some theater. But he was rehearsing there, so we said, come here with the crew, and I'll give you guys some time. And then we're waiting for him. and one of his handlers came. It wasn't hip hop. One of the guys he works with came in. He goes, "Listen, Jay only has 5 minutes." I go, 5 minutes? He got this crew down from Canada. What do you mean? He goes, "Listen, he's got a show. Beyonce's waiting. Jay's got 5 minutes." So, hey, listen, we're happy to have him for the 5 minutes. So he comes in. He's wearing a hoodie. He said, "I had to wear a hoodie for D&D." And he sits down and he gave us, till we were done with questions, gave us about 45 minutes. He's like, "You're not rushing me, man. This is really important." So he totally blessed us. Amazing stories. Mary J, amazing stories. And it tells the story a little of Gangster and what happened with Guru, and, just really interesting stuff that hasn't been told, and funny stuff, and behind the scenes stuff I wasn't even aware of. Because listen, I'm not out in the lounge in the studio all day. I'm in my office. Though I did walk around a lot and participate a lot, but a lot of great stuff has come out, and I'm very excited for it to get done and for people to see it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
There it is.
And it's also a moment of time about New York, just that sound, what was going on, even Hot 97. It's about, again, it's not a whole span of D&D. It's a moment in time, and it's told very well. These guys, like I said, Darby and Rodrigo, are second to none, and they love the culture. They know the culture. They're not faking the funk. Super knowledgeable, way more than me. As Russell Peters, man, guy's an encyclopedia of hip hop, like almost no one I've ever met. He's a true fan, an incredible DJ. Obviously the funniest man in the world. And part of his stuff is he's like a top of the head DJ. Like if you ever see him do audience work, he's just so smart and witty, and he's deep in the culture. He is hip hop. Russell is hip hop. Though he was never at D&D, he had a 40th birthday party that I went to when I first met. I met him with Primo at an Eminem event. So he invited me to this 40th party, and I was like, there were 100 people. 80 of them were MCs. I mean, it was just Slick Rick was there, Brand Nubian, Melly Mel, just Craig G, Lord Finesse. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here, man? I've never seen a party like this. And I went up to him and I said, best hip hop party ever. And he said, I bet it wasn't as good as your 1-2 pass it party. Which blew, I mean, how many guys know about my 1-2 pass it party? So I'm like, this guy is deep, man. I love him. So we became friends. And then I said, Russ, I'm trying to get this movie made. He goes, I'm in. I'll get your crew. I'm executive producer.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. So he blessed us, man.
Well, that's exciting. I look forward to seeing it when it's ready.
You and me both.
All right. Well, David, thank you very much for coming through.
Oh, yeah, man. I loved it.
We appreciate your time, and thank you.
Appreciate you.
Be sure to check out the History of Gangster Rap by Soren Baker. He's official.
History of Gangster Rap features exclusive interviews with Ice-T, Snoop Dogg, MC Ren, the D.O.C, and dozens of others. The History of Gangster Rap, a definitive look at how Los Angeles changed rap forever.
In Los Angeles, the streets definitely set the tone of the hip-hop music.
At 19, I got a $50,000 car.
My whole angle always was, I'll be street, but I will always tell you the horrors that go along with this life.
There will be penalties and casualties for just wearing the wrong color in somebody's neighborhood.
And once gangster rap made it from the streets to the TV, the genre exploded.
With Fab 5 on Your MTV Raps with NWA.
Yo MTV, it just catapulted us from being local heroes to national gangbang rappers.
The History of Gangster Rap discusses it all from 1980 up till today.
It's always gonna be shit happening in the streets. You know what I mean? So it's always gonna be something to talk about.
The History of Gangster Rap in stores now.